Hello again, Struckpup. Today I'm bringing you another build video for Torchlight 3, and this one is for the Dusk Mage in a combo with the Cold Heart subclass. I decided to call it Golem's Heart. Pretty simple, we're using the Golem from the Cold Heart, so no brainer there. Regarding where the name comes from, if you want to skip ahead, you can use the timestamps in the description or just click on the on the YouTube player bar for the right segment. Um, don't think that this would be a meta build. I'd rather warn you from now. This is far from meta, but this is a setup with the golem, and the golem currently is bugged, and you benefit from those bugs instead of the other way around. But when this gets fixed, certain things, the way I've done them, would not be possible. For example, proccing large boars, which is shooting icicles in front of us whenever with the chance whenever we use our basic attacks, can proc from the Golem's Chilling Aura. And Fighter Spirit, which gives us 50% damage reduction when we hit enemies in melee range, also procs from the Golem's Chilling Aura, so don't rely on those. Apart from that, the Golem can be very strong as a nuke. It can do a decent amount of damage, and me with my mediocre gear was able on Ridiculous to get it to do close to 300,000 damage. So probably you can get it to do even 400,000 damage with some min-maxing, especially with the upcoming update where certain legendaries would finally start rolling with certain affixes that couldn't roll on those before. So yeah, this is my suggestion for a golem based mage build, golem mancer, but not really. There's not much mancing other than golems. I'm not using any other summons. And I'm not using the golem as damage from his basic attacks. I'm using the golem as damage from his nukes, from his shockwaves, which can do a ton of DPS. And apart from that, I'm using Absolver and Entropy, and ideally you would have Molten Reach for the Entropy, but more about that in another segment. Let's talk about the skills now. And here we are at the skills segment where I talk about what skills I take and at what levels and why. Some of them are only passive, some of them I use as active. So maybe let's start with the light side of things and with the active skills. And I only use one light active skill, and that is Absolver. You can remove Snowstorm as an active and maybe put Light Spear. Or you can even try and put Holy Bolt, or you can rework Holy Bolt with 8 points and maybe 4 points into Absolver if you want to play with the Arc of Light item. Or if you want to play with the Arc of Light item, you might even want to consider removing the 4 points in Absolver and putting 4 points into Luminous Run. So your golem can have more more damage, or you can put 4 points into Holy Fury. In any case, I like to go 4 Holy Bolt, 4 Light Spear, 8 Absolver, using Absolver as an active. This one as a passive for the Harmonic Form duration, this one is a passive for the light skill damage, which buffs Absolver. On the dark side of things, we're doing something similar, except we're taking one more active and actually 2 more active skills and one more passive skill. So Entropy is maxed out, it's our damage skill. Ideally you would have an item called Molten Reach that only drops from level 60 or higher enemies, and that would turn Entropy into 8-second cooldown skill with the 10% cooldown reduction if you take it from Dark Spears. This makes it from 8 to 7.2 seconds. So if you take tier 2 Dark Spears, which I do suggest taking eventually, then this skill would be yeah, pretty nice with the Molten Reach. So then why Shadow Step tier 2? Why not just the tier 1? Well, the mana regeneration really helps. It really helps, and I think it's necessary to have that mana regeneration. This one, Energy Spike, I've taken that for the same reason we take Light Spear, for that 50% Harmonic Form duration, and Dark Spears only with 1 point is good enough to help you proc this 10% damage to Binded, Swallowed or Stunned.
and it's also amazing as a dark buff bar builder. You can see something here with dark spears. You see how quickly the dark buff bar starts gaining momentum, and that's without even using entropy. So if we add entropy into the mix, you can see things become a little better. Okay, back to the skills. Now, Unholy Bolt is purely for the dark skill damage. If you want to sacrifice this 20% and get something else, go ahead and do it. Now, the more complicated part is the Cold Heart. And I've actually taken this guy, Ice Golem with max out. I wanted to make a build with maxed out Ice Golem to see how it works. And if you're wondering why you're using large boards, it's because currently the golem is bugged. I'm not sure if it's intended behavior, but I think it's not intended behavior. And the golem's chilling aura, basically the tier 1 golem proc bonus, this chilling aura can proc things like large boars or things like fighter spirit. Basically, it counts the chilling aura of the golem as a basic melee attack hit for you, and it procs things like that. And if you have a pistol or a digitus equipped, you can proc large bores or a rifle. You can proc large bores. Ideally, you would remove those points from large bores eventually and not rely on it. And then those 5 points you most likely could put into Luminous Run for damage to relic skills, or into Holy Fury for crit chance for light skills, or even into Dark Spears for that extra cooldown once you need the cooldown for Entropy. So what do we need? What we need is Ice Shield maxed out, Ice Golem maxed out, Energizer maxed out, 1 point at least in Cold Front, 1 point at least in Snowstorm, but Snowstorm is optional, and this one is also optional. So basically you have 7 points here that are free, and if you put 3 points here, that still leaves you with 4 points that you can maybe put over here or here for the passive, or you can put for example all of those points here and have this at level 8, which would not be enough for the max out version. But if you get two extra levels to Cold Front, it could work. If you get some levels to a certain skill, for example, I can remove 3 levels from Ice Golem, and I can put those 3 levels into Dark Spears, or I can put those 3 levels towards Cold Front and maybe remove those 5 points and remove that one, or remove those 5 points and remove that one, and I can max out Cold Front. So if you have a helmet, obviously that gives you some extra skills, you can actually rework the skills. Cold Front as level 1 is pretty good. As level 6 it's also pretty nice because it freezes all enemies for 3 seconds on activation, but we have a confirmation that freezing is changing. You will no longer be able to freeze champions the same way you can freeze bosses. And we know that the tier 3 bonus from Snowstorm is changing, and it's not gonna be you critically hit frozen enemies always while Snowstorm is active, because they couldn't find a way to make it to work past the crit chance cap, so I guess they just decided to get rid of it. It was such a good skill in theory, but yeah, if they can't get it to work, I understand how they might just give up on it and just rework that in general and replace it with something else. So I would say, yeah, keep the 10 points here, keep the 10 points here, keep 5 points here, and the rest maybe 1 point here, and the rest you spend as you like, as you see fit. I'm not a fan of this passive, and this passive is very underwhelming. When you max it out, it's only every 35 seconds, and this passive requires this passive to proc. So yeah, there aren't that many great things in this skill tree. Snowstorm is good for the damage, and you can get the damage with just 1 point inside. If you go tier 2 Snowstorm, that's also not a bad choice, but again, since this is an Ice Golem build, you're not gonna be using Snowstorm much, unless you decide to use Snowstorm for trash clearing, and then use the Golem just for bosses. And here we are at the legendarium segment, and before I talk about the legendarium segment, I need to explain certain things about how sets work if you're a new player. Well, in order to get the set bonus of a set, you need 3 pieces of the set equipped. And since I've got the Celestial Mask, Shoulders and Gauntlets equipped, they're all getting extra bonus. This one gets another extra level to dark skills, this one gets another 2 summons, and this one gets doubled effects. And there's 4 celestial pieces you need in your build. The mask, the gauntlets, the cuirass, and you also need boots. And with the December update, things are changing, and we would be able to get things like this one here, where it gives you flat damage. This would finally be able to roll on legendary items. Right now, legendary items don't roll with flat or percent elemental damage. And that applies to the chest and leg. Those should be able to and will be able to after the update in December. And then it also applies to weapons. Weapons right now, if they're legendary, cannot roll with any flat damage other than the one at the top, at the innate affix, the built-in affix. So the middle affixes, as I like to call them, the ones between the socket and the built-in affix, those cannot roll with flat damage like this flat ice damage that I've got on this one. You cannot get it on a legendary, but you will be with the next patch. More about that in the gear segment. So the reason why I'm telling you this is, for now, until that patch comes, you would want to wear the mask, boots, gauntlets and chest. And ideally you would be wearing the boots, gauntlets and mask, and the chest would be, the cuirass would be in the legendarium, so you can have something like this that gives you damage to Absolver, maybe something with physical damage, I mean with flat damage. If you get damage to Absolver or damage to Entropy with flat damage, even better. But it definitely is nice stacking damage to Absolver for this build. I think is better than damage to Entropy, because I'm spamming Absolver more than Entropy, especially when Entropy gets a cooldown. When I get the Molten Reach, things would be different. And what else you want in the Legendarium? You want Molten Reach in the Legendarium. Molten Reach is the only item ever since the game launched I still haven't found. The game, the RNG hates me, there's no way of me to get it other than getting Wookie. And yeah, ever since the game launched, I just haven't gotten this item yet on my mages. So this is the one item I would need here instead of the Celestial Pants, or instead of Celestial Boots, and I can wear the Celestial Boots. Keep in mind there's new set, more about that new set in the gear segment, but I'm gonna quickly mention some good things that are worth keeping in the Legendarium from that new set. From that new set, Ancient Ember Pants, which right now gets the exact same affix as the arc-powered legs. And the arc-powered legs would change, so don't rely on the arc-powered legs giving you this bonus. This bonus would be only for the Ancient Ember Pants. So Ancient Ember Pants are good. Ancient Ember Shoulders is not bad either. And Ancient Ember Boots is amazing as well. Another thing that you could consider would be probably Ancient Ember Helmet. But that's pretty much the things worth mentioning there. I mentioned earlier in this segment about Arc of Light. If you want to use a Holy Boat, you can use Arc of Light. It's not a bad choice to use Arc of Light and use Holy Boat instead of Absolver. But I prefer playing with Absolver instead of Holy Boat, and that way I don't have to use Arc of Light. So yeah, let's say you put Molten Reach, you put the Celestial Cuirass, and then you put something else like whatever other piece you're missing of the Celestial piece or of the Ancient Ember piece from the 3 pieces, from the pieces I mentioned. Keep in mind there will be a new set again, as I said, in the winter update, so that would allow for some options and reworks of the setup. But hopefully it's clear, hopefully I didn't miss out much. If I did, it would be on my website, maybe some more detail. For the pet skills, there will be more coming. We would be getting another, I think, 7 skills for the pet, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember the exact number, but we're getting new skills, and I can't wait for us to have those skills available. For now, I like using Deadliest Strikes for crit chance. If you don't need crit chance, if you've already maxed it out at 40%, you can probably try more defensive, or maybe having more movement speed, or even block chance. But yeah, I strongly suggest keeping Healing Friendship, and my preferred choice are Healing Friendship, Deadliest Strikes, and then using this to immobilize enemies, and this for extra damage every now and then. But keep in mind there's new skills coming, so you might wanna wait to see what those are. And yeah, that's it for the skills, the legendarium and the pet skills. Let's move on to gear. Here we are at the gear segment, where I'm gonna talk about items, affixes, and roles you want to look out for. As I mentioned in the previous segment, there's some changes coming to, finally some changes, some fixes coming to how items work. Keep in mind, this gear I've got is pretty bad. My defenses are terrible, terrible defenses. Over here you would want 40-45% physical and over 60% electric, poison and fire defense. Which means I'm pretty far from those right now. Right now, until they fix legendary weapons to roll with flat damage, you would want a Digitus or any other one-handed weapon. I mean, if you played like me, the way I played with, if you played with large boars, you would want a Digitus, so you can proc the large boars from the golem. But this is probably getting fixed with the next update, so don't rely on large boars and just remove it. And don't mind if it's not a Digitus, even if it's a mace or a sword. We only use it as a stat stick. I don't really use the basic attack myself. But if it's a Digitus or a melee attack, right now the golem can even proc some damage reduction for you from what's its name, from Fighter Spirit, which the golem right now procs with its tier 1 bonus. So here you would want a weapon with flat damage at the top, 2 times flat damage at the bottom, and more flat damage in the middle. If it's a legendary, when they fix it so that can happen, then you can start looking for either another flat, I'm not sure if it would be able to get another one, or things like crit chance, crit damage, maybe skill levels to a skill, maybe chance to shock if you wanna use shock bolts, but this is not a proc build, so I'm not sure that works well. Things like that. In general, there are ways to squeeze more DPS. In general, I think crit chance and crit damage would be probably good things to look out for as the extra affix slot on a legendary after the update. Then you want an offhand with mana regen, relic energy regeneration, relic energy cost reduction. Those are good things. Maybe some more mana regen, maybe a socket. If you're using something with chance to shock, additional bolts is good. If not, then disregard it. It doesn't have to be legendary. Something like this is also nice. Mana regen, flat damage. And then maybe if it's a legendary and you get mana regen, flat damage, and relic energy generation or relic energy cost reduction, it would be perfect if that can happen. In general, mana regen is very good for the build. You need it, you want it. It's gonna help you spam more often. Then we mentioned in the previous segment you want 3 pieces of the Celestial piece equipped. My suggestion is, for now, until they fix the legendary chest and legs to be able to roll with flat damage bonuses, you would probably wear a mask, gauntlets and maybe boots. If you don't have good boots, Celestial with good duration and crit damage and stuff like that, then maybe do like me and get shoulders. But you want 3 pieces equipped, and you want 3 out of those, actually you want all 4 of those, either equipped or in the legendarium. The 4 I mentioned are the Celestial Mask, the Celestial Cuirass, the Celestial Gauntlets and the Celestial Boots. So either wear 3 SWAT SWAT 1 in the legendarium, or wear 2, SWAT 2 in the legendarium. You want a Molten Reach, and ideally you would wear that Molten Reach once it's fixed, once it can roll with good stats. If not, just put it in the legendarium for now. The Molten Reach is the most elusive item for me. Ever since the game launched, I mentioned in the previous segment, it's not dropped for me. That's what it looks like. Basically, it gives Entropy twice as many projectiles, but an 8-second cooldown, which can go down to 7.2 with tier 2 Dark Spear for the 10% cooldown reduction. So on the leg armor, you would want ideally something blue until the next patch. And that something blue would give you crit chance and damage with Absolver, or damage with Entropy, or flat damage, things like that, and some defenses. Arc Power Pants are broken, and this ability will be replaced. So that means no longer Arc Power Pants after the next patch, and you would need to look for the Ancient Ember Pants that give you the same affix. Ancient Ember boots are good as well, and so can be Ancient Ember, I think, helmet and chest, if I'm not mistaken. I mentioned that earlier. Let me quickly check the Ancient Ember, because again, another thing that I've gotten 0 out of those new items. So Ancient Ember Shoulders is good synergy, but the priority would be Ancient Ember Pants, boots, and maybe, just maybe, if you use Snowstorm, the helmet. If you don't use Snowstorm, then just shoulders are a good choice. Ideally, I would wear the Ancient Ember Pants, boots, and shoulders. And then I would wear the Celestial Mask, Celestial Cuirass, and Celestial Gauntlets. And then I would put in the Legendarium the Celestial Boots, and I would wear a good road Molten Reach, and then I can probably swat in the Legendarium the Celestial Pants, and one of the newer sets, which we would be getting with the winter update. There's some very good items there that you might want to consider. There's also some new weapon shield focus sets as well. It's one set with 4 items, and you only need to wear 2 items. That's coming as well, so that thing you might want to consider when it's added. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the Ember set. So back to talking about affixes and items. On the shoulders you want crit damage, and you want damage to Absolver, or damage to Entropy, but my suggestion is damage to Absolver, because ideally we want Entropy on a cooldown and Absolver the spammy skill. On the helmet you want crit chance, and maybe some skill levels to something that you use, so you can remove those and put them elsewhere. For example, right now I can remove 3 points from Ice Golem and keep it at level 7, which would actually still be 10, and then maybe upgrade my Dark Spears for the extra cooldown. Then on the gauntlets you would want things like duration for Ice Shield. On the boots you would want things like duration for Ice Shield. I think it really helps in this build. On the boots you also would want bonus to crit damage, and eventually when they fix it, maybe some elemental percent damage if you're stacking the same element, and only if you're stacking the same percent element. For example, let's say I've got electric here, and then electric at the bottom, and then more electric at the bottom, and electric and in the socket, and let's say this gives me electric damage and this gives me electric damage, then it would be worth taking percent electric damage, 7, 8, 9, 10% from the boots. If not, then it's not worth it, and then you're better off getting some defense maybe. As I mentioned, you want to get your defenses over 40%, maybe even 45 physical, and over 60% in the other ones. And those are numbers excluding wife-bound armors, They're doable, they're achievable. With just legendary and blue, without wife binding, you can get 45 physical with sockets for defense, and you can get 60 in each of the other elements. So relic energy cost reduction is pretty nice here. Relic energy generation is also a nice stat to look out for. Avoid gold work, avoid HP work, avoid potion work. You don't want such stats. On the armor you can get 3 good stats: damage to Absolver or Entropy, One of those, I would prefer Absolver. Physical or any other type of elemental damage as a flat. Or you can even get crit damage on the chest. And it's pretty good, worth taking. For the pet stuff, I really love rapid bartering when farming. If you're not gonna be putting the pet to work, to sell stuff, then replace the rapid bartering with something else. And what is really nice is the Dryad's neckband. And what you want on the Dryad neckband is attack speed. And there's one stat called faster cooldown for pet active skills. So pet attack speed increase and faster cooldown for pet active skills is what you want on all three of those as affix rows. And you want a Dryad neckband, and then for the markers, for the attacks, you probably would want something like the Phoenix stack if it dies. If it doesn't die, then Token of Invigoration is amazing, and as I mentioned, bartering is good. I normally like playing with Token of Invigoration and Rapid Bartering. Those are my two preferred choices. And this also synergizes well with attack speed and cooldowns, so keep that in mind. There's other options, you can wear whatever else you want. It's not gonna make or break a build what you put in the pet. But I love the Dryad neckband that really synergizes well with faster attacking pets. So I think I talked about everything. Again, if I missed something, do let me know, or just check on the website version of the build. It's already a much longer video than I wanted it to be. So let's just show you maybe some more gameplay footage and talk about the rotation.
And here we are at the gameplay segment, where I'm going to talk more about how I play the build, how I rotate my skills, and in general show you more of the build in action. So, as you might have heard me at the beginning, I use the golem as a nuke. I don't use it as your typical summon, where you have the summon hits the enemies while it's alive, it does damage. That's not the damage I'm relying on. At least that's not what I'm relying on the golem for. I'm relying on the golem for the shockwave damage that comes when you reactivate the skill. And I really hope that the developers would reconsider handling the summoning of the golem differently, so that maybe it doesn't do the full shockwave damage when you summon it, but at least do some sort of damage on the first initial cast, because otherwise it's just a wasted 50 energy that you're only using to summon the golem. So I'm not saying make it overpowered and let us do the shockwave on the initial cast for the full damage, but maybe for 50% of the damage of the shockwave. I think that's gonna be reasonable, and it's still gonna have that impact where the golem arrives with a shockwave, and it would look pretty nice. In general, yeah, just build up your dark buff bar with Entropy and Dark Spears, build up the light buff bar with Absolver. Use the golem to nuke high HP targets, mini bosses, champions. Use Ice Shield as much as possible. It's good damage, it's good survivability, and use Cold Front when you want to. And if you want even more damage from the golem, you can try and activate, as long as you have around 55-60 energy, you can activate Snowstorm, and right after that activate the golem to get notified when I upload more content for this game or other games like this one, which would be wooters of all varieties, isometric, third-person ARPGs, wooter shooters, and all sorts of wooters like that. You could subscribe to my channel and hit that bell button to not miss out on my content updates. And optionally, you can even join as a member of the Struck Club on YouTube as a channel member to get access to exclusive perks such as special emotes custom made by me, special badges custom made by me that represents how many months you have been a member for, as well as opt-in of editing tutorials that I can give for Photoshop, Adobe Premiere, as well as shoutouts and things like that. And I would like to use this part of the video to thank all my YouTube members and Twitch subscribers. Thank you for supporting the channel and keeping me going. Thank you also for watching this video, everyone. Keep it cool, Struck Club. Until next time, and goodbye.